Good evening, my dear.
Hi, Richard. How are you today?
We are quite glad to have the opportunity, I would say, to come and communicate with you, my dear. Of course, Janine gets a little bit worried sometimes. She thinks, oh, am I going to let go enough and allow the guides to communicate? But it is about the trust, isn't it, my dear? Allowing the communication to come through and trusting and believing, isn't it?
That is very true. And that's a good way to start, Richard. How do we let go and allow ourselves to trust? What are some of the things we can do, or how can we achieve that?
Well, of course, it is vibration, isn't it? We come into Janine's energy and try to help her to feel a little bit more relaxed, I would say, within the energy. It's all a little bit of nervous anxiety, isn't it? Am I going to get in the way or am I going to interfere? It goes through the human mind for yourself and many others, doesn't it? This is how it is proceeding into that relaxed state. You're asking about the communication, aren't you, my dear?
I am.
Yes, of course. We're using Janine's hearing here, of course. So technical hearing can be a little bit difficult sometimes. But yes, of course, the communication and the trust. Janine struggles with this at times, but we need her to trust herself, as many of you need to do the same, don't you? It is trusting with your own spirit, understanding that what you are hearing and understanding within your own vibration is part of your own energy, isn't it, my dear? Your own spirit. Of course, yourself and many others will think, well, that information coming through isn't quite real. It is all in my head. But what you must understand is your own spirit's there blending with you, bringing that communication through for you, my dear. You must understand that you are part of that too, part of that blending experience. So we want you to trust your own spirit. You trust us, don't you? You
Mhm.
trust the guides, don't you, when they come through and you say, well, I trust in you, but I'm not sure if it is me speaking or them.
Mhm.
But you are part of that equation. If you weren't there, we wouldn't be able to communicate. We need many souls, many individuals from spirit to come through and blend all as one. You are part of the soul group. You are blending with us. You are blending with your own spiritual team. I would say, whether it be mediumship or physical mediumship, depending on what you are doing, you are part of the blending process. Your multifaceted spirit is within you, it is around you, it is in the dimensions of space, it is within the spirit. You are part of all that consciousness of Mother Earth as well. You are expanding out beyond your seeing with your physical eyes. You cannot see or experience this in the physical mind. You are grounded and centered within Mother Earth. This is all to do with the gravitational pull, my dear. Once that gravitational pull brings you down to Mother Earth, to keep you grounded in that place, you are not able to see us in that same vibration. You won't even see your own spirit. Do you see what I mean, my dear?
I do. That's very interesting. If
Yes, I will.
I love what you said about we need to trust ourselves. I do agree that that's my biggest problem. I'm not going to say everybody's, but mine. Is that something that we are born with, or is that something that we learn? And how would we overcome that?
Of course, you're sort of trying to overcome that, aren't you? You're sort of saying, well, I want to try to believe in what is being said and in the right vibration. But to overcome that, you must step forward into the silence. I say to Janine about the quietness, as we have overheard you both speaking earlier. The reason that she says this to you is because I am teaching her this at the moment. I'm communicating this skill with her. Once you start to listen with the essence of yourself, and I don't mean necessarily having your awareness around you with your nature or outside noises around in your surroundings, I mean really listening within, going in with the quietness, making that greater connection to the spirit. Because when you make that greater connection, you will get that communication coming through. For instance, if I was to strip away all the responsibilities out of your life, or take your technology, for example, away from you, your mobile phones and your televisions, of course, we didn't have these in my time, of course. We take all these things away from you, your work or responsibilities, even your friends and associates, everything that you understand around you. And you are only faced to the self. You're only feeling the self of your own spiritual essence. It is when you come into contact, when all these distractions are taken away from you, that you make that real connection. I would suggest is finding that little time, isn't it? That little moment each day. We understand that you are living in the physical world, but we want you to understand is to take those moments. It's the sacred moments, isn't it? Even if you find, I would say, 10 minutes in your lifetime, is to find that each day and go within, make that greater connection. I would say the nothingness is going to bring you the greater connection to yourself, isn't it, my love?
Absolutely.
I hope that covers it a little bit. It can be a little bit confusing at times because, of course, you go to many of your churches and reunion places. You come to the gatherings that Janine offers you, of course. It's, we put the idea into her head to run these. You come to these places for love and for support, I would say, and trying to get a little bit of refuge and a bit of spiritual communication to guide you on your way. But this is why that we work through, Janine. We try to get you to connect to the spirit. All that information there is with you already, isn't it, my dear?
Mm-hmm. Actually, you touched on one of the questions I have for you is people talk about love and what love really is. What is love and how do we best express that or feel it within ourselves?
Well, little bit harder for Janine to let go tonight, a little bit tired. But love is a transition of the self, isn't it? You look for love for your friends and family, and you look for the responsibility with others. Many will feel in the world of the living, if they give their love to others, they will receive back. And forthcoming experiences with friends and family. But the real love is to find it within yourselves. You all sort of talk to your friends and wait for the approval or justification of something you should do in your life, wanting a little bit of appraisal or acknowledgement to keep going, or you've made the right decisions and choices, isn't it, my love? But it is connecting. Richard says about the soul, and I won't explain it like him in the complicated manner, as I always say, I'm a little bit more basic. But the love of the child, you love unconditionally, don't you, my love? You accept and trust and give what you've got to that child to help it along its path. We want you to treat yourselves in this manner. You are the innocent child on this journey, learning and experiencing. You understand old age. You understand getting older, don't you? From when you're a child, toddling around in the playground, playing in the fields with your boots on, like you used to. But this innocence stays with you. It is only the physical body that grows older. The mind grows older, but the soul stays young at heart. That it is, and what it is. But you don't see it like that. You have your minds in the way and you say, well, I'm getting older, things are changing. But if you sort of sense that you are that child, you will communicate with it. The spirit is young at heart. It has the knowledge. It has so much love to give you in this lifetime. We just want you to love that spirit. It is part of you. The greatest relationship, I'm going to say, that can be achieved in this lifetime for you, my love, is the relationship with yourselves. We have a little laugh and a little natter in the background about Janine. Why doesn't people love me the way I should be loved? What have I done wrong? I try my best. We just want her to love herself. The greatest foundation and relationship is going to be with yourself, not with a married partner or with anybody else. It's just you. These relationships that you have come from a foundation of learning, experiences of life. You've come together to challenge each other and learn from one another, and learn and teach each other that you can love yourselves. You need to do this in order to love others, don't you, my love?
Yes, that is a true statement.
Yes.
I wonder if that, because of as we get older and the pulls of nature, the pulls of the world, is it attainable for us to really love ourselves and then be able to give love to others? Is that something that's attainable as in this human form?
Well, God himself, he loved many, didn't he, my love? He went on his cross on his last days. He was victimized, abused, disrespected. He gave so much of himself to the world to heal many and to help others. But others were faced by his inspiring light and love that he gave out. And much jealousy came upon them as he was victimized in his time before his crucifixion. But their reaction to him was because of the fear that they needed to work on, the love they needed to find within themselves. But he still shined his light upon them. He learned about self-love, and he shows you about self-love into this lifetime. Reaction from others only comes from fear. Fear was still here when God existed. Everybody reacted to him with fear. But he still gave out that unconditional love, even when others were battering him down. You see, you have to continue to shine your light, my love.
I see. I think you know what I'm going to be asking you, because you keep hitting on my subjects before I get to them.
Yes, well, we already know.
Yes, you do. Can you tell us about God and the existence of God, or who is God? What is God?
Well, of course, and therefore we'll stand back a little bit for this one. And you understand God, don't you, in your Bibles and churches and many religious artifacts and Bibles, don't you? You understand the knowledge and the many scrolls that were written in his time. Of course, you understand the Bible, but many of the scriptures and scrolls have been changed over many millennia and written very differently within the Bible, I would say, being manipulated by man, as Janine knows. The wording and vibration has been changed. But of course, God is the essence of love. He comes to give you love. But God is within all of you. He is within the consciousness of all of you. He has been here from the beginning of time. You understand him walking across the rivers, don't you? The man that walked across the rivers and gave healing for many. But many of them come forward and receive healing from him, and they will receive the love of God. They believed in him and they said, well, we've been healed by God. They were only healed by themselves. They were part of his essence and vibration. Every time they connected to God, They aspired the belief within themselves because he inspired the belief within them. He connected to them and helped their self-belief. And the transition of healing proceeded within them. It is the belief of the mind, my dear, the communication of the mind. God was the essence of consciousness. He lived within the world of the vibration that you understand. But his belief in you, the belief in everyone around him, increased the belief in within others. So this is what is meant to happen within your world. We come and communicate through Janine, and many other mediums will communicate with their trance guides. But we come through to help the aspiration of self-belief. Once you believe in yourself, everybody else will believe in themselves too, and believe in you, of course, my dear. God, you understand, some may believe that he existed, some believe that he didn't exist. Of course, he was a real gentleman with real healing abilities and the ability to connect with others. But things have changed, different artifacts and different things and writings were written up about him within the Bible. But the manipulation of the mind got in the way and changed many things and write-ups that were given within many religious artifacts and churches and Bibles. So the mind got in the way, the mental mind interfered with the progression of faith. You understand the churches, you go to them, you sit in them, don't you, my dear? Restore your faith, you pray to God. You pray to whatever you decide that you want faith in and a trust to keep going. But every time that you pray to God, my dear, you are praying to the essence of yourself too. You are part of that vibration. You are part of God, my love. He is within the consciousness of space, part of your spirit too. You are all bloodline connected to him. You hold his DNA, his essence of every part of him, and even your multifaceted spirit is blending with him within the consciousness too. So it is believing within yourself, isn't it, my love?
That's beautiful. I guess I hear all that you're saying, but and you're right. The big question is there a God or is there not a God?
Yes,
Where did God come from? Where was the beginning of God?
Of course, you understand the Adam and Eve, don't you? And you hear the story behind this. Where did God come from? Who was he? What vibration did he come from? Did he have another past life? God was the essence of many souls. He came from another lifetime, I would say. You understand the birth of Christ, don't you, within the earth? He had had many lifetimes before that. In the beginnings of the earth planes, the very first humans that came to earth, yes, he existed within these times. In fact, he was part of the Native American tribal American times within this essence. And within this lifetime, he was connected through a very ancient, traditional, I would say, Native Americans that you do not understand or aspire to in this lifetime, that you may not resonate with. But the Native Americans actually went back before Christ. Their existence of their humanity and lifetimes were there before Christ. So you associate Christ was one of the very first humans here. He created Mother Earth, the Big Bang, I would say. The Earth was created in so many days, if you understand, my dear. But many of the Native Americans were here before him. Many of them are part of his ancestry, part of his bloodline and communication. That is where most of his healing abilities would come from, through that vibration. You may find it a little bit hard to believe and think, well, how can God be connected to the Native Americans? Many of the shamanic working healing guides that you work with now are all connected to him through bloodline. Do you see what I mean, my love?
I do, and I'm confused a little bit. So our understanding is there was God, the Father, and Jesus, who came next, which would have been the Son. But I'm hearing you say that they're one.
They
Are
are really one. Many of the Native Americans that pre-existed before God, as you understand now, as I am explaining, many of the ancestors that were part of him were all one consciousness. When he was brought into the world and born, he came from a very large family bloodline behind him within that vibration. So he had very many ancestors that he communicated from the spirit side of life. They connected through him and communicated through him. This is why that they had very many abilities and vibrations to communicate through in that energy. His healing abilities came from these times. And of course, you associate the Native Americans being, I would say, after this time scale with the religious times of God. But yes, he existed. But he existed way after the other humans came to Earth, my dear.
interesting. Wow, that is so. Okay, I have many questions. So one of the things that Janine and I were talking about, and something I have been wondering about, is when we are communicating with spirit through trans mediumship, like we are now with you. Are you coming because it's all about the philosophy and the learning and the teaching? Are you coming from the God source? Are you coming from your experience? Where the information of the philosophy, where is that coming from in this type of communication?
Of course, we have. You find it quite hard to believe. I know that you can sense the energy with you, my dear. But of course, many of these Native Americans, as you understand, it's a connection to God. There were many lifelines before him that you will not understand or comprehend. Of course, they are all consciousness as one now within the spirit, aren't they? They are all part of that. You are all one form of vibrational energy within the spirit, all connecting as one. You see, you have your earthly life now, don't you, my dear? You have that connection to your earthly life. You understand your family tree, don't you? You understand the ancestors in your family and past loved ones. But all those molecules of energy and consciousness, understanding of many lifetimes and vibrations of lifetimes, will communicate and come into that one form of vibration. Very many forms of memories and understandings, of course. But of course, within all of this, there's the existence of Mother Earth coming into that consciousness and vibration, because of course she has memories and vibrations and past events of Mother Earth, as Mother Earth has changed over many millennia, hasn't she, over many trillions and millions of years. So there are many, I would say, consciousness and memories and that vibration stored within Mother Earth too. So of course, if you bring the spiritual realm, you bring God as you understand into that, and his ancestors too. They are the form of vibration and memories. And of course, not just the memories, it is the foundation of consciousness, that spark of light. Many memories will be held within that consciousness. It's like the replay of your life as it goes by, as you pass to spirit. You have that interconnected within that energy too. But within that vibration, you will have many forms of light and energy, the speed of light too. So when the colors and vibrations come in, the colors and vibrations can be part of your physical human body, of many physical human souls that lived on this earth, the light and colors of yourself within your DNA, your physical form. And of course, the light fragments of Mother Earth, the colors of your plants and trees, everything that you associate with, even the universe, the color of the sun, the bright light of the stars, they are all color formations and vibrations. And all this consciousness, your past lives, your physical selves, even God's presence and his ancestors will come into this consciousness and vibration. And it creates a spark of light that you cannot see with your physical human eyes in this lifetime. You probably never will until you reach the spirit. So it is a formation of many past lives and many forms of colours and vibrations. And I will also say to you, my dear, I'll try to get Janine to step back a little bit more, because she just says, well, I don't believe a word of it, because she's been overhearing the conversation, so she gets in the way a little bit. But when we add the speed of light too to that form of consciousness, and the speed of light comes in, and when that speeds up that vibration of color, the molecules of energy of consciousness will divide and split into many forms of vibrational light, a bit like cells in the body, I would say, all communicating, coming together. So imagine it, they're all forming as sparks of light, and there are rods of light connecting to each and one of them, and they're all communicating and coming into that bright energy of consciousness. You are all part of that. So it's a mixture of things, I would say, for you, my dear.
That was very lovely. Thank you so much for that.
One
One of my questions, again, we're kind of, you're dictating the way this list is going, is color. I love it. I love it. When you were describing about vibration and color, I know that a lot of people like to use color, or they teach how to use color. Is color the same for everybody, or do we all see color and that means something different to each individual person?
Oh, no, you associate the colours that you see in your physical world, don't you? With your human eyes, of course. You will see the light vibration different to how we will see it in the spirit, and how we observe your vibrational energy, of course, my dear. So how your physical mind perceives it and sees it is very different to how we will see it. But every individual will see the same colours. So you will all see red, blue and pink, for example, won't you? You all understand that vibration. But many of you have had a different, I would say, level of consciousness and vibration from many different lifetimes. Some of you will see the colour pink, but it will be slightly varied. So I would say to you, if you get 3 people in a room and they all look at the colour pink, if you look through each individual's eyes, you will see that there's a slight different shade of vibration. So the pink may be a little bit darker for one individual, I would say, and a little bit lighter for another individual. It is because the vibration of your spirit has come in with different, I would say, lifetime experiences, different amounts of healing that has been required. And of course, many of you have worked with the spirit in the last lifetime. So your levels of consciousness will be much higher. So you're all vibrating differently from one another. That is why that you all learn differently in this lifetime. Some will learn quicker than others, I would say, and some a little bit slower. So yes, you will all react differently to the color vibration. You will all react differently to the sound vibration, and even the speed of light, my dear. Would you like me to continue about that?
I would. Thank you.
We'll get Janine to stand back a little bit more. I keep repeating myself, but if she hears me, then she knows that she's been told to step back a little bit further. But yes, you will see the light slightly different from the next person. So I'm going to talk to you about sound as well. You all hear very many different sounds within your vibration. You may hear, I would say, the sound of an individual speaking. You may hear the birds tweeting in the trees, mightn't you, like Janine does? So you hear these sounds and vibrations. But what these sounds do is they connect to your ear chakras, so you can hear the sounds as you understand. But they also connect to the vibration of color, I would say the retinas of the eyes. So the sound and colors connect together and form a vibration. They sort of shatter and move and vibrate as they hit each other within the consciousness of around you, I would say, within the energy field within your auric layers. They will communicate and stimulate. So once you are aware of a sound, it takes your alignment and line of sight, doesn't it? You turn your head and you say, well, I'm going to go and look at what I am hearing, because the sound vibration and color vibration are coming together. They are communicating just like as easily as your cells in the body. Otherwise, you wouldn't respond to the sound. And therefore, if you didn't respond, you wouldn't see the color vibration. Do you see what I mean, my love? So it is all communication. You have the ears, eyes, and nose, don't you? These are all part of the lymphatic system as well, and they are all communicating amongst each other. So, of course, when we talk about the throat energy, Janine, I would say Janine knows a little bit about it. She gets a little bit in the way now, which is what Richard's going to talk about. But that throat energy is connected to the ears. We've been teaching Janine about listening into the vibration. We've been teaching her lengthy, I would say, conversations about that. Once the listening is perceived, the voice will come out. It all needs to communicate. So if we are speaking a little bit too much, the ears will shut down, because of course they are meridians as well, as you understand, and as energy portals for you, we all call them that. So it's a little bit easier for you to understand. But they are both connected. We need both of them to work simultaneously together, don't we?
Mm. I find that interesting. You use the word listening to the vibration. How do we listen to the vibration? Just by slowing down and being in the stillness?
Well, of course, your ears in the physical world are only adjusted to hearing at a certain vibration, because you have the gravitational pull as Mother Earth, isn't it? You're in that gravity energy, I would say, keeping you grounded so you can walk and you don't sort of float up into space. So you're not going to float away. So, of course, when that gravitational energy comes into your vibration, the way that you perceive and listen and hear and see color and hear the vibrations will be affected by the gravitational pull of Mother Earth. I would say if I sent you to space now and you went into the atmosphere, the way that you would perceive and listen and hear, and even colors would be, senses would be changed within the vibration, if you see what I mean. But you already understand this, don't you, my dear? So I will continue with this. But the listening, how do you actually listen to more information that is coming from the spirit and from your own soul? It is coming back to the same answer, isn't it, my dear? It is going within and listening to that spirit. And I know that you're thinking to yourself, well, you've said that 100 times before, Richard. I'm trying to be quiet. I'm trying to sit here and I'm trying to listen to what is going on. I'm coming into the moment of my time. And Janine says, well, I'm doing that as well, Richard, but I still can't hear the way I want to hear within myself. It is because you are too busy concentrating on trying to hear. It is the mind, you see, it gets in the way and it says, well, I'm trying to listen. It is like trying to have a conversation with a friend and just trying to butt in all the time into the conversation, isn't it? So when your mind gets in the way and says, well, I'm listening, just like, well, I'm going to get in the way of the spirit and I'm not going to allow it to bring its truth across or the information that you are needing to hear. We need you, we're not saying remove your brain out of your head. I'm not saying that, my dear. We know that you have a physical mind and you are in the physical realm and the mind is going to be there. You need that physical mind. You need that logic and that vibration to function in the world. And we know that you can't get yourselves out of the way completely. But try not to let the mind dictate to the soul. It's like if you're with a friend, you would not dictate to a friend. You would try to come from a place of love or communication. We want you to be in that loving vibration towards the self and say, well, okay, my mind is saying that, sort of getting in the way a little bit, but I'm going to speak to my soul gently and say, well, look, it is okay. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to receive because I know that you love me very much. My soul loves me very much. It is there to support me and guide me and love me. It shows unconditional love to me. It is the only one that is here for me to show me that guidance, and of earthly path and spiritual as well. This is having the willingness to listen. Just allow that mind to step aside and allow yourself to listen, my love.
I love that. And I would imagine from all that you said, the same with the mind would apply to the seeing.
Yes, of course.
As the hearing, that we are blocking it ourselves by trying to see versus just being.
Yes, because when the mind sort of, try to explain it not too difficultly, but when the mind gets a word or a vibration and something is put in there, I would say, and maybe it's a positive word or a negative one, the sparks of light, the communication within the brain stem cells will light up a load of lights, a little bit like fairy lights, I would say, and they all light up and they receive the word and the message, and it lights up the rest of the brain. It receives that message, and there it is installed like a bit of a computer, I would say, that you have, and it stays there, and the mind remembers it. But what we want you to do is allow the spirit to bring that download of information to the mind. So that spark of information is coming from the spirit, not the physical mind.
I love that. I need to go back to the conversation about God and the fact that religion on this planet is so volatile in some cases. What is the point to religion here, and how should we look at religion?
It is Alice, my love.
Hello, Alice.
Religion, you ask many questions, but we will come in with different knowledge. Mm-hmm. As Richard said before, he talks about the many religious Bibles being changed, isn't it? The words have been changed, situations and events and stories have changed about Christ and God and the events, isn't it? But as a child, you have all grown up, haven't you, understanding many stories, I would say, and many events that you have been installed in the mind, isn't it? As Richard said, there it stays and will continue to stay. It's what you have learned. But many religions stemmed from the information that has been created in these Bibles. Many believed in the stories. Many believed that these events happened, and of course some events did and some did not. But when you understand putting the faith into the Bible, it is creation of the man-made mind, isn't it? Believing in the book and the faith of a Bible, you can believe in anything you want to believe in. You can believe in the faith of a church as you attend to the church, as the doors open, as you go in each weekend. You can go in and sit and pray. You can read your Bible, or you may sit at home and believe in God there and do your prayers, or you may go into nature. In whatever form and vibration you want to work in, it all comes back to faith. God believed in a lot of faith within the self. He tried to show his followers and many of the leaders that were behind him about faith and belief. That is what it's all about, isn't it? That is what he installed in many. But you are all God. You are all part of his energy. The faith is within you. He's that spark of light is connected to you, and he's installing that faith all the time. God is around you, not just in your churches and books. He is everywhere. He can be anywhere you decide him to be. He can be out in nature. He can be in a local hall that you decide to visit. He can be in your mind. He can be anywhere you desire it to be. He's part of your divine spark, isn't he, my love?
Love that, yes. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you, my love.
No, I interrupted you.
You can walk the Garden of Eden. He talks about the forbidden apple, isn't it? Adam and Eve, they eat the apple, don't they? Mm-hmm. And they are sort of in trouble for the forbidden fruits, I would say. So it is the communication, the stories behind this. Many of you in your lifetimes have sort of punished yourself on the emotional level. You feel guilty for what you do in this lifetime. You feel guilty if you have done something wrong or something is not done correctly or right. The punishment of the self has continued for many lifetimes. We have watched and observed this with many of you and of course Janine. But the punishment of the self has come with the mind. Richard would talk about this quite a lot, but the mind is always wanting to punish you. It is always wanting to sort of say, well, you've done this wrong and it is not done right. It all comes from the biblical stories and stored in the mind for many millennia and many unread stories. It's the way people believed in things during that generation. But we try to come into your energy from spirit, and we try to break that cycle of guilt and acknowledgement of guilt and try to release it. You need to love yourselves. The spirit wants to love you unconditionally. You're all imperfect. You're going to make mistakes. God understood that you were going to make mistakes as he did too. You're not all onto a race of being perfection. You cannot be perfect. You see, to be perfect, you have to be understanding that you will make mistakes. And that causes perfection because you will achieve greatness in your challenges to learn and to move forward and grow, won't you?
Yes, and thank you for that. That is a really good reminder to all of us. One of the things that's one of the things that's happening in our world today is racism. How do we deal with racism and how can we sniff it out? How can we get rid of racism in our world?
Well, this is the judgment again, isn't it, my dear? Judgment of others. And I won't try to talk too much about religious things because we don't want, I know some are religious and some are not. But judgment of the self, isn't it? It all comes to that. Judgment of others and in their vibration and connection to others. So of course the mind is wanting to judge itself all the time, isn't it? So it stems from many millennia and many generations of lifetimes, that's judgment. God was judged again, wasn't he, upon the cross? It comes back to the same thing again. Just finding the unconditional love within yourselves to stop the judgment of the self. Once that is achieved within the soul, there will be no need to judge others around and you talk about the racism. Of course, this is judgment. Sometimes political views will come into that vibration, but it is all judgment, judgment of the self. So of course, when racism came in during these times, particularly through the early 18th century, and I would say the 16th and 17th century, slavery was very prominent during this time. And many of the blacks were used for slavery to help the whites continue with their work. But what you must understand, color and vibration again, it comes back to the same answer, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Perceiving of color and vibration. Many of you in the physical world will associate different ethnic views, different colored people, British, white people, and black people. It is how the eyes perceive it through the retinas. You are all the same, you are all spirit. It all comes back to the judgment of the self. Once that is released, there is no need for control or judgment of others. But that is for another topic, isn't it? That was the control, isn't it? Controlling of others. It comes into that vibration. When many are judging within the self, they want to control the outside influences, keeping things in order. But once they are in order, there will be no need to control or judge or criticize the world around you. It doesn't just come from racism, my dear. It is in the world that you are living now. There is much control going on, whether it's through different political situations or many different world events, not just between colored ethnic backgrounds. It all comes to the judgment of the self, controlling of the self, cannot let go of this vibration. It is all the mental mind of how it's perceiving the world. We want you to connect to your soul. That is what we need you to do. But of course, we understand we can't persuade every individual on Mother Earth to have a pure enlightenment awakening, as you call it, and to become perfect and stop the judgment and control. It would be impossible within your lifetimes, and it will be impossible for many millennia. But what we can do from the Spirit is enlighten the few that are willing to hear and listen into the vibration. It is rather like breaking the cycle, isn't it? It takes one person to change the vibration, and it cascades down the line through many generations, and it will help the new children coming from Spirit, coming into this earth plane, to change the vibration, to change the ethnic responses to one another by releasing the judgment of the ego and lack of self-love, isn't it?
That is a good reminder that we are spirit. We're not the color of our skin. Thank you for that reminder.
Yes, of course.
What should the goal of humanity be in general? What is our goal to be here?
Well, of course, I'm going to take that on a turn, my dear. You don't need to have a goal. I'm going to remove that from the vocabulary here, because goals are from the mental mind again, isn't it? The achievement. We understand that Janine likes to set goals because of achievement brings you joy, doesn't it? And it's respect for the self. We understand this needs to proceed. But we try to get Janine to understand that goals and these events that you want to happen is to come away from that and come into the moment. Quite often these things that you strive for and want to do will come to you when you come into that quietness of the mind and to listen to the soul. Because of course, if you're listening to the vibration of your soul, it will lead you to the events that you are meant to be doing. But if the mind, I would say, is too busy trying to set goals, trying to set events for the future, it is the mind that is controlling, not the soul that is leading. Do you see what I mean, my love?
I do, and thank you for that correction. That was very, very well done. I love it. So one of the things I like to tell people a lot is that living in this world is really the illusion. How do we really trust that this is the illusion and not reality in human life?
Well, of course, you talk about the illusion of life, how you perceive things in the physical realm. You understand the furniture around you, don't you? You see every vibration around you. You see Mother Earth, you see the outdoors, you see people around you too. But everybody is in that physical vibration. So I will give you a little example. If I was to take you all out into space and take the influx, the inside of Mother Earth, the core of Mother Earth into space, where you are breathing and living the fresh air, every tree and plant of animal into the universe of space, you would all split up into molecules of vibrational energy. You would split into atoms of energy and consciousness. You would just be forms of light. You are understanding this, aren't you? And seeing the visuals. I can see your mind seeing the visual outplay now, aren't you? You're trying to see it, aren't you, my love?
I am.
Yes, we can see what you're looking at. So you're seeing those molecules of energy all moving around. So imagine that each individual, every plant and animal, everything that you associate is turned into energy. That is what it is. That is what you are looking at. So yes, the physical world is an illusion. It is an illusion of what you are seeing physically grounded within your reality. So it is what Earth is perceiving for you within the gravitational pull. But what you are actually not perceiving, it is everything is in forms of vibrational energy. It is all moving, it is all twisting and moving with the vibration. You are all energy, even your bodies and vibration. So imagine it. Pick up your house, for instance, my dear, and your physical body and everything you know and associate with, and now turn it into energy, my love. You will understand you have the scope and ability to move between many different astral planes. Your consciousness is allowed to expand and move within its surroundings. You are capable of doing anything. You have no limitations, no challenges to stop you doing anything you decide to do. You are connecting with the soul. You are connecting with the vibration of energy, my dear. If you look at things in this vibration from this day forward, if I can get Janine to do that, that would be good too. You will be able to understand that you are just energy. There is nothing that is impossible that you cannot do. So don't need to set goals or challenges. Just allow your soul to lead it. Allow that vibration and that energy to lead you. Your expansion can take you to much more different horizons, can't it?
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is that we can do anything that we put our mind to doing, but we limit ourselves because of our mind.
Yes.
How do we, because we can have in our mind that we're going to do something. Like when I do mediumship, I have in my mind that I'm going to surrender and just allow, but yet my mental mind gets in the way. So how do we control that? What do we do to be able to put our mind out of the way and just allow the flowing of who we really are as spirit to happen?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more basically.
Okay.
Janine's a little bit tired. So when Richard comes through, it takes a lot for her to step back, my love.
Okay.
But you have a little box, don't you? And when you've finished packing your items in it, whether you're putting your belongings away or you're moving house, my love, you put your items into a box and you put it away, don't you? You understand that's what's needed to be done. But this is what we want you to do with the question that you've just asked us. Put everything away into a little box. Forget the physical world just for a little moment or two. We understand that you need to go back to it, my love. We don't want to keep you in a little box for too long. But we just want you to put things aside. You are spirit. Just communicate with it. Believe everything it brings to you. You might get imagery coming through your imagination. And you say, well, I don't believe that. It's all made up in my mind. But how do you think your mind was created? Yes, it was created into a physical child within your mother. But the spirit came in. It came in and activated those cells in the mind. It brought all that wonderful information through from many lifetimes. It brought all that information through about energy that Richard was talking about colours, about understanding sounds, my love. It is all in there. The spirit has got it all there for you. It's just that you don't believe it. So what we want you to do is just put that physical self in a little box. It's like putting it away in a cupboard for 10 minutes and saying, all right, I'm spirit now, and I'm going to believe in everything I am seeing and experiencing within my mind. Your mind is part of the spirit. When you're floating all the way up there with us in the spirit realm, everything that we want to see and experience comes from our divine spark. It comes from our spirit. We create what we want to see. We understand the colors that we want to see and the energy. Whatever we desire. If we want to experience something we enjoyed in our lives, we will experience that too, my love. You've got to trust it. It is all there for the greater communication. I can't get Janine to trust it. I keep telling her, well, that's real, my dear. And she says, well, no, Apple, I don't believe it. It's all in my head. Where do you think the spirit stays and resides? Within your head and your consciousness, all around you and beyond you. You're not just in your physical body. Your spirit understands everything that is happening around you. Your spirit understands what's happening 10 miles away from you. He understands what's happening many hundreds of miles away from you. Your spirit has a massive expansion of knowledge. You've just got to believe in it, my love.
The image that I got when you were talking about that was when a mother has a baby and they teach the baby how to walk, and the baby doesn't feel like they know how to walk, and yet they still learn. How does the spirit world look at us when we're in our human form and we restrict ourselves so much from moving forward and growing? We get in our own way.
Well, you get in your own ways, don't you? Yes, you've said the words, my love. The little girl or boy learns to walk, but it doesn't distress. It gets back up again, doesn't it, my love, and keeps going. It hasn't had the words from the human mind installed upon it to say, stop, you can't do that. That's why it keeps falling over and getting up. That's why children seem to keep making the same mistake one after the other, isn't it? Because it doesn't have any fear. It hasn't been installed in that little mind of it yet. The spirit doesn't have fear. This is what we try to install upon you with your work and spiritual work too. Is that to get that fear out of the way. Imagine you're that little child again, learning to walk, but you're going to get up again and keep doing it until you get it right. We keep saying this to Janine, and we'll say it to all. You just have to keep going. You have to keep trusting and getting up and trusting. The spirit is going to push you forward. Sometimes it'll give you a little kick up the bottom to try and shove you forward a little bit. Don't forget that your spirit is pushing you and urging you forward all the time. It's a little bit like when you get the mind in the way, the spirit's going, well, I believe in you. I know that you can do this. Why aren't you listening to me? You see?
I love that. That was a great answer. Thank you. And I will always use that. I love that.
Well, it's like when you fry your egg in a pan, my love, and it's not cooked properly, is it? And you try and cook it again and try and get it right. So with anything in life, isn't it? Your hobbies, cooking, whatever you decide you're going to do from day to day, you're all going to make silly mistakes, no matter what it is. These mistakes are there to help you learn. You're just learning with the mind, aren't you?
Yes, we are. One light question. Does a person's name influence that person's life and what they become?
The name of somebody, the name of who you are. Well, it was decided in spirit what you were going to be called. You talk about names. It's an identification of the person, isn't it? An understanding of who you are speaking to or communicating to. It's the understanding of the mind again. In the spirit, there is no such thing as names. It's just past experiences of many lifetimes. Many names that are installed in the spirit that you use from those lifetimes and understanding. It is all the mind again. You see, we are called Richard, Alice, and Ethel, and that, of course, is our names from those lifetimes. But really, the spirits don't have names. The spirit is energy and consciousness, as you are as well. It is the merging of energy. The energy of Mother Earth does not have a name. It is all energy, my love.
I love that. So a question with that, though, if we predestined our name, if we had our name before we came here, but we hate our name, why would we hate the name that we agreed to come and live with?
Well, of course, I will come to answer that. But just not liking your name very much. But of course, in the physical world, your parents will call you a particular name that you may not be happy with within that vibration. But your name is a vibration. It is an understanding and communication, isn't it? If we was talking about that, most of the spiritual beings are just consciousness, aren't they? The names are created through the mental mind for you to have a way, I would say, to all communicate amongst each other. I'm called Richard, and of course that is what I was called in my lifetime. So people understood who I was and how to communicate. But of course, within the spirit, we are not communicating through names. We are communicating through the vibration of energy, the feeling, the color, the speed of light, as you were listening to before, what we were talking about. But you were given a name that you don't quite like or understand. Of course, that not liking a vibrational name or not understanding it, or say tweaking it slightly and giving a short version of your name so you feel a little bit more comfortable about it and people communicate with you with a shorter version of your name. But of course, it is all verbal communication. You dislike the name. Why do you dislike it? You dislike it because the words and vibrations are communicating together. They don't stimulate your vibration. So therefore you react to the vibration and say, well, I don't like that. It is all energy. It is rather like when you walk into a room with somebody that you don't quite get along with, or you have a meal that you don't quite like and the vibration doesn't taste right and you don't like it. You don't like the surroundings that you are sat in. It is all vibrational energy. It is only because your energy is not tallying up with that vibration. So when you don't like a name, it is the mismatch of vibration that is tallying up. It is rather like getting a spark of light trying to light up with the wrong energy and wrong vibration. Do you see what I mean? So this is what it is. It's just adjusting the vibration and energy to, I would say, make a greater connection. But I'm also going to say to you, if a name appears that you don't like or you're not happy with your name, I'm going to say there is a past life experience usually involved in this that will be the greater connection for your healing too. And I'm going to say some names are used for many spiritual beings that are born into this world, and they will be named after somebody that they had a tragic event with from another lifetime, and they'll be triggered within their emotions and healing and energy and vibration. So there's usually, I would say, unresolved issues there from another lifetime, I'm going to say to you, but I can speak at length about that for another, I would say, hour. But you're going to say, well, how can a name that I'm not happy with be connected to a past life? It is all interconnected. Each name and vibration, every word that you hear in your physical realm that sparks off an emotional response or energy is always intertwined with another vibration, I would say, from a past experience, either in this lifetime or another lifetime. For instance, I would say if somebody has been emotionally abused in another lifetime and they are named after that person in the next lifetime, there is usually an interconnection to do some healing there, my dear.
Wow, that was really interesting. Thank you. That's really serious. I understand what you're saying. Thank you. Do you have a message for everybody before we go?
Well, of course, we can keep talking for as long as you want, but there is much to be resolved in your life, as of course for many of the individuals on Mother Earth, they're all trying to understand and grasp what is happening with them at the moment. Janine understands it is a lot of emotional healing, and you call it shadow work, don't you? Releasing of the emotional issues. But I'm going to talk about the quietness of the mind a little bit, the listening, as I keep bringing up quite a lot. But we want the listening to proceed, because when the listening is proceeding and moving forward, you are understanding everybody on an emotional level. You are starting to listen to everybody on a soul level. So of course we want you to speak, we want you to educate and to help others learn, of course. but it is the listening, it is going to move you forward to helping those individuals learn and educate from what they are learning from in their lifetimes. So when you are listening, you are connecting with the throat energy. The listening is part of the throat energy. The verbalization of the ears are all interconnected with the throat energy as well. So when you are listening, you've got these little inner radars inside the ears, and they are listening to the participant that may be speaking or going through emotional trauma, or you may be even teaching like Janine, and you start to listen to that vibration. And it's these little tiny flaps of skin within the, I say, deep inside the ears, and they flap and respond to very much sound frequencies and vibration. So they respond to the listening vibration. They respond to the emotions of other people when they are talking to you, whether it be emotional or sad or happy, or whether you're listening to their points of view, whatever that they are talking to you about. When these little flaps of skin move and flap within the ear retinas of the ears, because you have little retinas in there too. And I'm going to say to you, well, you have retinas in the eyes as well, but these tiny little retinas, they're not part of the eyes. Don't get me wrong, you haven't got eyes in your ears, but these little retinas are part of the hearing signals and vibrations within the ears. They're a little bit like eyes, but they're not. They're just called this. They stimulate the hearing. So when you start to hear and you start to listen to others, the ears will simultaneously communicate with the throat energy. They will communicate with the eyes as well. All the signals will rotate and move around and communicate to the throat energy and then up into the eyes. So how you perceive somebody will come from the visual as well. So how you look at somebody will change because you are, I would say, listening from the ears, and you are listening from the vibration of hearing rather than vocalizing. So you will, I would say, see with the heart, won't you? So you will see with the third eye, you will see with the physical eyes, you will see them on the emotional level. And then what tends to happen is the throat will be activated. And then when the throat is activated, you will come out with the communication that is appropriate for the individual. You will be speaking from the soul and the heart, and you will be listening first. This is a skill that I have been greatly working with Janine in the last couple of weeks, trying to show her and teach her. She's quite responsive sometimes, quite a little bit fiery. She won't appreciate me saying that, but I've been teaching her to just slow down that vibration, because once the ears and the eyes start to communicate first, the throat energy will respond afterwards, but respond in the right vibration. Quite often, if Janine is speaking too much, she is not hearing or listening or seeing or listening with the heart. We need all these areas to be all simultaneously working together, a little bit like an engine of a car, isn't it? All going round and moving quite smoothly and well. But that is for another conversation, for another day, my dear.
Yeah, that's intriguing, and learning how to make them all work together is going to be the trick. I love that. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, thank you, Richard, Alice, and Ethel, for being with us and sharing your time with us. I am so thankful and appreciative of being able to chat with you and your
Yes.
wisdom.
Well, we try to keep Janine out of the way, and it's a little bit difficult tonight. It's a little bit irritation in the throat, but we always tend to put that to one side and try to come through and communicate with you the best we can, of course.
Well, I think that you've enlightened me. I hope that everybody that listens to this will be enlightened as well, but you've put a lot of clarity on different subjects. So thank you for that time.
Yes, of course, my dear. Would you like me to bring Janine back now?
Yes, I promised her we wouldn't go too long.
Yes, of course. I will bring her back graciously.
Thank you.
Just sit for a bit longer. We haven't gone anywhere yet, my dear.
Okay.
Give us a moment or two. I leave you with a thought, my love.
Okay.
Just sit in that comfy cushion. Do what feels comfortable for yourselves. If you're not comfortable in your chair, if you're not comfortable with what you're doing, what is the point in doing it? We watch you all from a distance. We watch Janine. Making yourselves feel uncomfortable. Well, I must do this today and I must do that. We understand that you have responsibilities in the world of the living, and we know that you've got to do your jobs. But try to do something each day that really makes you feel comfortable. You've come here to experience life. We want you to be comfortable in what you're doing. Why deliberately make yourselves uncomfortable when you can make yourself more comfy? It's like deliberately sitting in a hard chair, isn't it? When you can get into a comfortable one. Do what feels right for you. Do what feels comfortable to the soul and the mind. If you see something that doesn't make you feel comfortable, then don't do it. The soul is telling you that you are not meant to do it. But quite often, many of you will get that little mind in the way again and say, well, I must do it anyway if it feels uncomfortable. But if you've got to do it, find a way to make it more cushy. It's like if you've got to have a journey on a plane or a train, isn't it? We couldn't travel very much in my day during the war. We had to go in the horrible, horrible ships. And we had those class and segments of class that we had to go in. The poor would go in one section and the wealthy would go in another section. It is always made to feel uncomfortable a lot. But I always find a way to make it comfy. I would take something with me that made me feel more comfortable in that situation, even if it was negative. So always remember, when you're in a situation that is not feeling good either, do what you can to make yourselves feel comfortable. That is what is going to progress you forward, isn't it, my love?
Yes, thank you.
And I will bring her back, my love.
Thank you.